Welcome to the Tech and Space Leader Show, where we learn lessons from leaders of the new frontier. I am your host, Lisa Dreher, and I'm really excited to introduce our guest for today, Silvano Payne. He is the CEO of Satnews Publishers, and he also leads Silicon Valley Space Week, also known as Satellite Innovation and MilSat, that's coming up here October 21st through the 24th at the Mountain View, California, at the Computer History Museum. Welcome to the show, Silvano.
Thanks. Welcome. Thank you, Lisa.
Absolutely. It's great to have you here today. And we're going to talk a little bit about Silicon Valley Space Week, but maybe you can give us just a little bit of background on yourself and Satnews first.
I've been running Satnews for about 40 years, long time. Started out producing an international satellite directory and moved through various products till we were doing mostly media, magazines, daily news, weekly news. And then the thought of putting on a few trade shows kind of grabbed us. And 10 years ago, we started MilSat Symposium in Silicon Valley. And fortunately, it went very well. So we've continued in the events business. It's been a good business for us.
Excellent. Okay, so what can attendees at Silicon Valley Space Week expect this year?
Well, 4 days, if they stay for the whole time, there are 4 days of discussions, meetings, lunches, breakfasts, parties in the evening. It's a very, very busy time. The first 2 days, we occupy ourselves with satellite innovation. What are the new things that are hitting this market? What are the new innovations? What are people looking forward to? Obviously, AI is currently playing a big role in that area. And then the second 2 days, we move on to a military theme where we do MilSat Symposium. And there we have some military leaders who have come to join us. And there the discussion really is more about how can the military and industry work closer together to produce what we need in defense in this country.
Ah, gotcha. So who are the main attendees at this event? Who's going to be there?
There are, I would say, CEOs, CFOs, CTOs of a lot of the major companies in the satellite industry. We hit a very broad spectrum of personnel. There will be a lot of large companies. All the majors will be there. In fact, we have presentations from the Lockheeds of the world to the single people who run their own business, and so it's quite a variety. Most of the people are very senior. Most of them, a lot are very young. It's amazing how this industry has attracted such an excellence in young people. And so a lot of engineers, but mostly it's CEOs, CTOs.
Excellent. Okay. So what are some of the key trends? You kind of mentioned AI there in the intro, that are influencing the direction of the content for this year's Silicon Valley Space Week?
I think if you look back over the last 2 or 3 years, you'll see that there was a little bit of a drying up of money in the space industry. And that had obviously affected a lot of startups, obviously affected the direction in which the industry was going. I think what you've seen in the last 6 to 9 months is a tremendous amount of money coming into the industry, a lot of speculation as to areas to go, and a lot of growth in what you can do in space now, with a realization that probably a third of it is military, but there is a lot of commercial activity out there. In fact, we have a show that we have started in May next year called SmallSat Europe. And that is purely because nobody has done a SmallSat show in Europe. And so we will put on the first one in Amsterdam in late May next year. So interesting.
Wow, exciting. Oh, a whole new event.
A whole new
Excellent.
event.
Well, very exciting. So maybe you can share a little bit about some of the keynote sessions that we are going to see during the 2024 event.
You're looking at keynote sessions or keynote speakers, because we have about 8 keynote speakers. Let me get those to you first.
Okay.
We have 4 in innovation and 4 in military. These are people who are well steeped, very well known. For instance, Mike Greenlee, who is the CEO of MDA, is coming to speak to us. And as you know, MDA have been making huge moves recently, especially with the acquisition of the contract for Lightspeed. So having Mike here is going to be a real pleasure. Adel Al-Salah, who is the CEO of SES, is scheduled to speak. And obviously SES, with the acquisition of MilSat, is a new player on a very, very large scale in the industry. Mark Dankberg, who is an absolute favorite of ours, comes back to talk about Viasat. And of course, Viasat gobbled up MilSat. So that adds a whole new level of discussion. And I think Mark is going to talk about where he thinks MilSat is going, although he is the CEO of Viasat. And the last of those keynote speakers in innovation is Kevin Steen, who's the CEO of OneWeb, Eutelsat America. And of course, that's a tremendously interesting play, given the position that it finds itself in with Starlink and with Cooper coming along. Obviously, OneWeb is going to be a player, and it's going to be interesting to see where they play. On the military side, we have Major General Buteau, who has been a speaker many, many times at our show. He is the head of DIU, which is the innovative section of the military, has a very large budget now, and will be telling us a lot more about what DIU is up to. We're very fortunate to get General Gutlin, who is the Vice Chair of Space Operations of U.S. Space Force. He's a 4-star general. He is basically number 2 in charge of the Space Force. And so he has some interesting things to talk about. Then, of course, our favorite, who comes back virtually every year, we really thank him for it. He jumps on a plane, gives his talk, jumps on a plane and flies back to DC. Is Dr. Derek Tournier, who is the director of the SDA, the Space Development Agency. He gives a 45-minute synopsis of where the military is going, where the future is. And so from a futuristic perspective, he is absolutely essential to listen to. And then we have Major General Rick Zellman, who is the component commander of U.S. Space Force. So a very packed keynote session with a lot of really top-end people in the industry. And then, of course, we have, I think it's 13 sessions for each of the shows. Each one has about 13 sessions with 5 or 6 speakers on each session. And then we have some what are called market or tech briefs. And this is where we give a speaker 15 to 20 minutes to talk about a very specific area. Often it's an area that nobody's interested in, but a number of people are interested and really want to know the detail. And so we ask them in 15 minutes to summarize battery technology, for instance, or whatever it happens to be. It's a tough task for the brief giver, but we found it just a wonderful thing to interject in between all of the panels.
Wow, fantastic, fantastic. So is that new for 2024, or did you do that last year as well?
No, we've done that. We haven't had as many keynote speakers before. We find we're trying to lower down the number of panels a little and have more specialized speakers. We find that there's more interaction with the audience, and we think that the audience really enjoys having that. we have a totally new concept which we have introduced for both shows, and that is side talks. We have a room which fits about 50 people, and we've allowed any of our sponsors or exhibitors to hold 45-minute in-depth workshop type events. And so these will happen while the main sessions are going on, and they're presentations on really specialist areas within their expertise. And so this is a new thing. We've got, I think, 10 of them planned so far, about 45. Yeah, so that's a brand new thing. It's like running a dual track, but it's very specialized. And so we expect 20, 30, 50 people to be in that room to enjoy just that presentation. So that's brand new.
Wow, amazing. So is that in the main agenda on the website, or where do people learn about those sessions?
Right. Everything we do is broadcast on the internet during the show. So if you sign up, you can also do an internet sign up. However, those side talks are not going to be broadcast. You have to be present to attend them. It would be just too much for us to really put that together. The idea is it's more of a workshop. It's questions backwards and forwards with the presenter. It might be 2 or 3 presenters talking about some fairly esoteric stuff. And I don't think it's going to attract more than 50 people. In fact, I'm sure it's not going to. And so the smaller group will be able to interact completely with the speaker. But otherwise, everything else is on the web. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So what are you expecting will be kind of the biggest topics for this year? What are the big challenges in the industry that you think we're going to be covering during the event? Those sort of things.
Well, there's obviously the big gorilla in the room, who launches the satellites every other day, and they have taken a lot of air out of the industry, but maybe they put a lot of air into the industry. It's kind of a two-way street, and so I expect a lot of discussion about Starlink and SpaceX. They have been invited. They declined to attend, which is what they do to most shows. And they're pretty much on a run and have taken up a lot of activity that other people could have been doing. But it's going to be an interesting discussion, because Cooper we have our first speaker from Cooper. And so Kuiper, sorry. And so, Amazon are going to start pouring in billions into that network. And OneWeb are obviously fairly well established. And with Kuiper coming along, it's an interesting area. That would be one area that I think is going to get a lot of discussion, direct to device, that kind of thing. AI is obviously having a tremendous effect on the industry. But that I think it's been having a big effect for a long time. And then, of course, the additional funds that are now available in this industry. There's a lot of money available, so we're going to see quite a bit about that.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I am really looking forward to being there. What are you really hoping that the attendees of Silicon Valley Space Week this year will walk away kind of knowing, thinking, feeling as they go back home after the event?
I hope they're better able to contextualize the technological changes that are happening in view of the market growth and direction of the market. That's what we're really hoping to achieve. At all of these shows, one of the major things that people tell us they come away with is a sense of connection to a lot of people. We design it with lots of free drinks and free food and lots of intermingling, and people really get to mix and talk to all sorts of levels and different types of companies. And I think that richly, it adds a lot of richness to their attendance at these shows, is just the connections that they get. But it'll be interesting to see, with this market growth going on, where the discussion takes us.
Absolutely. Okay, great. So if somebody wants to learn more about Silicon Valley Space Week, what should they do?
Well, I think the easiest thing to do is to go to our website, Sonoma Valley, Silicon Valley Space Week, SVSW. If you go svsw.com, it'll give you both websites. You can go to Innovation, you can go to MilSat, but Silicon Valley Space Week. I live in Sonoma Valley, so I keep saying Sonoma Valley.
Yeah, so I think it's SVSW.events. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes, that is correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, and you've given me the honor of moderating a session called Connecting Beyond Borders, the Next Generation Mobile Systems Direct to Device. And so I am really looking forward to moderating that session. We'll have folks from or leaders from Iridium and Viasat and Skylo and Amazon Kuiper on that panel. So I am really honored and excited to lead that session during the event this year.
We're so happy to have you moderating a panel at last.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for making time to be here today. Again, that web address is svsw.events if you'd like to register for the event. And yeah, we are really looking forward to this event this year.
Lisa, thank you so much.
Absolutely, my pleasure. And I do want to take a moment to thank GuideForce for hosting these sessions. To learn more about GuideForce, you can visit guideforce.com. And we'll see you next time on the Tech and Space Leader Show.